All right, welcome to This Explainer. Today we're unpacking the crucial and honestly often really messy middle of B2B technical AI SaaS sales. We're going to take a list of dry glossary terms and transform them into your ultimate actionable playbook. I mean, if you've ever wondered why a super promising lead suddenly goes ice cold, or why a quote-unquote sure thing deal drags on for months and months without a signature, well, you are definitely in the right place. So, what actually happens between showing interest and signing a contract? Let's dive right into this massive gap where deals are actually won or lost. Because in the world of AI and complex software, buyers are inherently skeptical, right? They need absolute proof that your product works in their specific environment before they even start to trust you as a vendor. That entire journey, from that very first spark of curiosity all the way to the finalized signature, is what we call pre-sales. To map out this journey today, we're going to walk across the pre-sales bridge, outline the actual deal process, look at how to qualify your buyers, manage the operational mechanics, and finally, we'll reveal a pretty surprising twist on product-led growth. Okay, Section 1, the pre-sales bridge. This is the critical proving ground. The really crucial point here is that getting a lead tossed over the fence from marketing, that's literally just the starting line. Pre-sales is the rigorous step-by-step machinery that converts that mere interest into actual bankable revenue. It's not just about having a cool product, it's about having an airtight process to prove that product's worth to a highly skeptical buyer. Moving on to Section 2, the deal process, and how we actually structure the sales conversation. A healthy deal follows a very specific progression. First up is the discovery call. Your absolute only goal here is to understand their specific problem, their current process, and their budget. Seriously, do not pitch here. If you skip discovery, you're going to end up answering questions nobody even asked. Then comes the demo. Because you did your homework in discovery, you can now tailor this walkthrough specifically to their pain, instead of just giving some generic feature tour. And finally, the proof of concept or pilot, where you actually prove the software works against a real use case using their own data. Now, it's really interesting to see the stark contrast in how you prove value based on your business model. For enterprise deals, you're looking at a heavy, sales-led proof of concept. It's scoped, it's time-boxed, and it requires crystal clear success criteria. If you don't agree on those criteria upfront, the POC will just drag on forever. Contrast that with a product-led growth motion. PLG relies on a totally frictionless, self-serve trial, usually free, that doesn't require a salesperson at all. You see this all the time in free or pro-tier structures. And hey, if you're swimming in the deep waters of enterprise or government sales, you're absolutely going to hit the RFP or RFI. These are massive formal evaluation documents that require incredibly structured written answers. We're talking huge security questionnaires. It's a really heavy evaluation step that's completely absent in early stage PLG sales, but it is absolutely mandatory if you want to close those giant organizations. All right, Section 3, qualifying your buyers. Or basically knowing exactly who you're talking to. So to figure out if a lead is actually real, sales teams have historically used qualification frameworks. BANT is the classic toll gate here. Do they have the budget? Does this person have the authority to sign? Is there a real need? And is there a concrete timeline to act? It's a solid baseline to make sure you aren't wasting your time, but honestly, for complex AI deals, we need something quite a bit heavier. Which brings us to enterprise frameworks like MEDDIC or MEDDPICC. These force you to go way deeper than just basic budgets. You're hunting for quantifiable metrics, like what exact numerical outcome are they looking for? You have to identify deep pain. And crucially, absolutely crucially, you need to find an internal champion. This is someone who will actively advocate for you when you aren't in the room. Deals without a champion pushing for you internally? Yeah, they will almost always stall out. And that's because you are never just selling to one person. You have the economic buyer who controls the purse strings and makes the final call. You have the technical buyer vetting all the integrations and security. And of course, the user buyer evaluating the day-to-day experience. Look, promising deals die when you only sell to the user and totally ignore the economic buyer's budget concerns. You literally must satisfy the core concerns of all three of these roles to win the deal. Let's jump to Section 4, managing the deal. Diving into the operational mechanics. As you move through any sales cycle, you're inevitably going to hit friction. The key here is that you must address common objections proactively. Don't sit back and wait for them to bring up price constraints or switching costs or that classic engineering trap of, hey, we could just build this ourselves. Bring these up in your content and your demos before the prospect even asks. This is especially critical for security and data handling concerns. Buyers evaluating AI SaaS right now are frankly terrified about this stuff. They want to know exactly where their prompts and their data are going for sure. Now, sometimes, despite your absolute best proactive efforts, those security and architecture objections get incredibly deep. When these questions get way too technical for a general salesperson, you bring in the sales engineer, or SE. This is a vital, highly technical pre-sales expert whose entire job is to run the POCs, answer those super complex architecture questions, and definitively prove the technical fit to that technical buyer we just talked about. So, at the end of this really long road, the deal closes. Either you win it or you lose it, but the process doesn't stop there. Whether you get the signature or the rejection email, you always run a win/loss analysis. You've got to review closed deals to find the exact patterns. Which objections keep killing your deals? Which specific features do your winning customers always reference? You take that invaluable data and feed it straight back into your product and marketing teams to sharpen up the next cycle. And finally, Section 5, the PLG connection. We're flipping the script here. Connecting all this human sales machinery back to the product itself. Remember those objections we just discussed? Pre-sales does not happen in a vacuum. A great marketing foundation does a ton of the initial pre-sales work for you. Having strong bottom-of-funnel pages, crystal clear pricing, and proactive objection handling means there are way fewer things a salesperson has to explain manually. It drastically reduces the friction of every single discovery call because your buyer is already educated before they ever even book a meeting. And here is the ultimate twist. If you're building an early AI SaaS with a self-serve PLG motion, your product flow, your onboarding sequence, and your paywall page literally are your pre-sales department. The software itself has to do all the convincing, all the objection handling, and all the technical proving entirely without a human salesperson in the loop. So, I'm going to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought as we wrap up. Take a hard look at your current user journey. If your product had to act as your absolute only sales engineer, would your next deal close? As you design your product experience, are you building a bridge strong enough to carry your prospect all the way from casual interest to a closed-won deal, even if no one is there to hold their hand? Think about that. Apply these frameworks and go win those deals.